My name is Michelle Morris, and I'm the Associate Pastor at First United Methodist Church in Conway. Very newly appointed there. We are here at Think Coffee, and we've got John here. You might have to bend down a little bit.
Hello, everyone.
John is the owner of Think Coffee here, and he's letting us have our conversation here. You want to tell them they've gotten the usual coffee challenge, which is that I don't like the taste of coffee, don't drink a lot of caffeine, don't eat or drink a lot of carbs.
Yeah.
So what was the resulting drink?
All right, so this is a half-calf, sugar-free mocha with heavy cream.
Okay.
So, there you go.
So heavy on the, and it's iced.
It is iced. It is an iced one, which is
Okay.
probably not appropriate for this evening. But, you know, we saw you sitting up inside, and we were like, we'll get iced, and then...
That's all right.
Then we made a bad call. But,
I wouldn't say that. I will tell you this. Would you like to know? My dad sold coffee for 21 years.
Nice.
And this will be my very first iced coffee.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. So,
Interesting.
So I will have never had one before.
Well,
so,
all right. Well, we'll see how it goes.
All right.
So, all right.
Got chocolate in it.
It does have chocolate. It's sugar-free.
Oh, I really like that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Nice.
That's really good.
Did we like circumvent the coffee?
You did.
Enough?
You did. It's not too bitter. So
You hit the coffee.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thanks for letting us be here.
Absolutely.
And we do have a comment, or we're looking for your comments. One of the things that I would like to, our question of the day that we usually do when we're doing these things is, so today's question is, if someone were to invite you to a coffee house and you'd never been there before, what drink do you hope they have?
Tea.
That's right. So I'd love it if you'd put your answer in the comments. These will air at 10 o'clock in the morning, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the other kind of good coffee hour. We will look at the number of comments, and we'll do a drawing. And whoever wins will get this $10 gift card from
Awesome.
Think Coffee.
That's
so,
awesome.
so yeah, thanks for your hospitality.
Absolutely.
We're glad
Thank y'all so
to
much for
spotlight
coming
you.
today.
Sure. All right. See ya.
Bye.
So today we are here with Marci Bynum Robertson. She's the Executive Director of the Literacy Action of Central Arkansas. And as I've explained, I'm not from Conway. I have worked in Central Arkansas. I've lived there some, but don't have as much familiarity with a lot of the nonprofits that are in the area. So I would love it if you could start out by telling me and the folks that are watching, if someone knew nothing about your organization, how would you explain it to them?
Well, first off, you were lucky to move to a nice town. Conway's a very nice town.
Yes.
I live in North Little Rock, but our organization serves Faulkner County as well as Pulaski County and a little bit of Saline County. Literacy Action of Central Arkansas was founded in the late 80s, so we've been around for quite a while. We started in the basement of a church, as many small nonprofits do.
Yeah.
And we serve between 650 and 800 students a year throughout Central Arkansas, most in Pulaski County, but quite a few in Faulkner County also. And we teach adult basic literacy, and then we teach English language learners English. So we do small immersive classes for our English language learners, and then we do one-on-one tutoring typically for our adult basic learners.
That makes me think, in these COVID days, I imagine you had several locations where those classes would take place?
Yes, we really are partnered with a lot of churches. We have about 30 local community partnering organizations, and churches play a significant role because of the philanthropic nature. I mean, as a lifelong Methodist, I grew up, John Wesley, the world is our congregation, make the world better than when you started out, basically.
Right.
And so that's why I feel like literacy is such a good fit, because literacy impacts all of your life. It's the foundation of life in a modern society.
Right.
So smartphones can only do so much. If you can't read the street signs, Siri is not any good.
Right.
So we one of the things that we have done, and we hear the term pivot a lot, and I think people may be tiring of that. But we've really had to do that and move our programs online as much as possible.
Yeah.
And thankfully, we have the technology now. And anyone who bought stock in Zoom is going
Oh
to
my
be
gosh.
rewarded in spades. And so we have moved our classes because our English language learners are typically a little younger and a little more tech savvy and more comfortable with those online platforms. So our classes have continued pretty much as they did before. Now our one-on-one, because we have so many volunteer tutors that are immunocompromised, we have cautioned them and just said, only when you're comfortable. And so we have specific instructions if they want to tutor in that one-on-one, that paired tutor-student relationship. We have a few of those who have communicated through telephone or they use Skype or Zoom. We have one student now who is in Iraq, and his tutor communicates with him, and I believe they use Skype. And our tutor here even reads bedtime stories to their young children.
Oh, wow.
Which is just wonderful. And I don't know what time he has to set his alarm to read them a bedtime story in Iraq.
Right,
but,
right.
Pratt's willing to do it. We have wonderful volunteer tutors. We couldn't get along without them.
Yeah. Any other ways that COVID's changed your ministry or your service?
Well, we do see it as it really
Yeah.
is kind of a ministry because we're really helping people to help themselves, teach a man to fish. And so it impacts the rest of their lives so they can do for themselves, basically.
Yeah.
We don't have as many walk-ins. We really, in the middle of March, because our offices are in libraries, we had to shut down our physical locations along with those libraries. So we've had to work from home, and so right now we're kind of phasing back in. So we're in that stage of, is this at my house or is this in my office? And so there's a lot of back and forth going on with that. But we haven't had the walk-in students because our libraries have been closed.
What do you see right now is your biggest need that you have?
Well, with a small nonprofit, you know what we're all going to say. Funding is our primary need because I said we have a wonderful group of volunteers who really, we cannot conduct our mission without them. As I said, serving about 650 to 800 students a year, you can't do that on your own. We're a staff of 3 or 4 people, depending on, what time of the year it is. And funding is what we need because we can only do so much. But, those of us who work in nonprofits, we have mortgages and, we have to be able to support ourselves as well.
Right. Well, and do things like get information out about, there's expenses to being a nonprofit, right?
And we really, most nonprofits do a very good job of operating on a shoestring, and we've been able to take advantage of the payroll protection program and some of the COVID-related funding that we've had because we do a lot. It's a little deceptive when we say we teach people English and we teach people to read because we help people get their driver's license. We had a student who got her commercial driver's license and was able to get off of public assistance for the first time in her adult life.
Wow.
We help people study for their citizenship exams. One man came to us a few years ago and he needed to learn how to read material safety data sheets, MSDS, because that was part of his job. And so now what we're facing because of the employment outlook, our students who have low literacy, which is actually 21% of Pulaski County adults.
Wow.
It's about 17% of Faulkner County adults.
Wow.
So that means that 17 out of 100 people in this community cannot read beyond like an elementary level,
Right.
elementary age level.
Right.
And so those folks are facing the worst employment environment that they've had since the last big recession because they're facing folks that with college degrees that were laid off from their professional, that maybe those folks were in upper management or middle management and they're just looking for anything to support their families. So they're competing with our students who have low literacy.
Right. Do you have a story? I know you've already shared a couple of important stories, but do you have a story of transformation that you would like to share that you've seen with your folks?
One of the stories that we have that's one of my favorites, and of course when you think about a student learning English, you think, well, what can they do in our society? We have students who are learning English who are getting their PhDs. And I mean, there really is no typical literacy action student, because we have everyone from someone who may be in their 70s, who grew up in the cotton fields and they never went to school beyond 4th or 5th grade. And so those are folks that are learning adult basic language, or adult basic literacy, rather. But then we have our students who, we had one student last year who got her citizenship. And she came from Iraq, and she asked our program director to drive her to Memphis for her ceremony. So she attended that ceremony, and she took off her headdress for the first time since she had been in this area, because the folks in her community are very conservative. She took that off, and she said, "Now I feel like I'm an American."
Wow.
So
that's powerful.
it kind of gives you chills when you hear those kind of stories. And so we feel like we're really helping people across the spectrum. It's not just folks who can't read. It's folks who are coming to this country who are looking for better lives and family supporting employment opportunities. And so we're helping them to enrich all aspects of their lives.
Yeah.
One of the common stories that we hear is a parent or grandparent is reading a bedtime story to their children or grandchildren, and when the kids get old enough to read, and then there's a realization that, well, grandma's not reading what's in this book. Well, grandma's reading what she remembers.
Right.
She's not actually reading. So we have some folks that come to us like that, because it's, these folks, you can tell they're intelligent because they develop these great coping mechanisms.
Absolutely.
So that the people in their lives don't know that they are not good readers.
Yeah.
That's what amazes me, is that people hide it for so long, and that they're able to do that even from their family and closest friends.
Yeah.
Well, I think so many of us that do know how to read just take for granted, right? Mm-hmm. We take for granted what doors reading opens, and what ease there is to that in life, and to encounter other folks that have, like you said, found all kinds of creative ways to get through life is in some ways inspiring, but it's also that much more of a sense of giving urgency to the work that you do too.
It is, and it really inspires us because, and we've talked about this, and we've posted things on our Facebook page about what was your spark. And each of us has kind of told our story that, well, my spark was in 2nd grade when my teacher, Redhead Miss Martin, came in with a box full of her daughter's books to give to us. And I picked up an old Nancy Drew book. I think it was The Secret of Lilac Inn. I still have it at home. But that is what really got me hooked, because I'd seen I'd gone through the little kids' readers and all that, but that was a real book. They didn't call them chapter books back then, but they were.
Yeah.
And so that is what engaged me. So every allowance I got, I rode my bike up to Walmart and bought a Nancy Drew book.
Wow.
And my coworkers have talked about what inspired their love of reading, and we want to give that to other people, because I can't imagine not reading every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you asked me what was my spark. I don't remember when I fell in love with reading. I was a literature major, by the way.
So you're one of us.
Yeah, I have my undergrad degree is in English and French. My first master's is in comparative literature. So I've always loved reading. I've always loved playing around in words, right? And my mom actually doesn't know when I started reading. She knows when I started correcting her when I was about 3 or 4. But I do remember in elementary school especially picking up a book and not being able to lay it down and staying up till 3 or 4 in the morning to finish a book that I had started at like 9 o'clock that night.
Did you do flashlight under the covers?
Oh yeah,
that's the real sign of a reader.
Right? Yeah, definitely. And also, at the time, I shared a room with my brother, and he or I both, either one, would periodically say we were afraid of the dark, and sometimes we'd just leave the light on. So I didn't even have to have the flashlight under the covers. I could just have the light. So anyway, yeah.
One of our longtime students, he has worked with a tutor that's been with us for many years, and he is a retired truck driver. And we've told his story a little bit on Facebook and some different venues, but he developed a fondness for John Lewis's biographies. I think there's a graphic novel, and then I think he did the autobiographies, the recently deceased John,
Yeah.
So I think that he also likes to write out his Sunday school scripture in longhand and discuss it with his tutor. So our tutors do a great job of, we have set curriculums for each student in each class, but they also work with their tutors and they tailor individually.
Well, that's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. Well, Marci, thank you so much for this. It has been a joy learning more about your work, and I encourage everyone out there to go to, is this web address good? literacylittlerock.org.
Yes.
To find out more information about your work, and you can also support them by bidding on our silent auction items. We have a number of those available, including some great gift baskets that people in our church have put together. So you'll find a link to that in our Facebook post here. Again, thank you for being here. I really
thank you
enjoyed
for
this.
focusing on us.
Yeah.
And welcome to Central Arkansas, to
Thanks.
Conway.
Thanks.